My People, Places, Things presentation is going to take us to ancient Egypt and the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone is an ancient Egyptian slab of stone which contains an inscription of a decree that was passed by a council of priests in 196 BCE. A few years preceding this decree, the Ptolemy dynasty that ruled Egypt at the time lost control of certain parts of the country. At the time when the new ruler, then a 13-year-old Ptolemy V, became the king of Egypt, it was necessary to establish the cult of the new king in order to bring the country under control. When the stone decree was first made in ancient Egypt, it was most probably housed in a temple, until over the centuries it got moved and ended up as a material in the construction of Fort Julian, which was built in the 15th century by the Ottoman Empire. During Napoleon's campaign in Egypt, the fort was occupied by French soldiers, who eventually found the stone in 1799. The Rosetta Stone got its name from the town of El Rashid, also known as Rosetta, which lies nearby Fort Julian. But when Napoleon was defeated, the Rosetta Stone actually changed hands from the French to the British, who have possession of it to this day. The stone's inscription is in 3 different languages. First, the hieroglyphs at the top, which at the time of Ptolemy V's reign were only used by the priests, not even the king himself. Then in the middle, the Demotic script, which was in daily use at the time. And then at the bottom, the ancient Greek, which was the official language of the government. Because the stone contains more or less the same text in 3 different languages, Rosetta Stone is of an enormous historical significance. In 1822, a talented French linguist and a history professor at the Grenoble University, Jean-François Champollion, realized that the 3 inscriptions have the same meaning, and used the Rosetta Stone for much of his work in deciphering the hieroglyphs, which opened up a huge window to the life of ancient Egypt. When the Rosetta Stone became the property of the British after Napoleon's defeat in 1801, it was transported to the British Museum in London, where it has been on display since 1802 until today. Curiously, there has only been one time when the stone was moved away from the museum, and that was in 1917, when several valuable artifacts were moved to one of the many bomb shelters in the London Underground for fears of damage from the potential bombing of London during the First World War. The Rosetta Stone has stayed available for viewing to the visitors of the British Museum even during the conservation and preservation efforts in 1999. During the first 200 years after the stone's rediscovery, imagine, many copies of the inscription have been made. Initially, the script was copied by applying ink to the stone and pressing white paper onto it, but since then, many other methods have been developed, including wax and paint. Also, many fingerprints got onto the surface of the stone. The Rosetta Stone was cleaned in 1999 and remains one of the most visited objects in the British Museum, on display behind a glass case for generations to come.